Hey everybody, how's it going? This video is on the Grey Knight Interceptor squads, which are these guys here. You can tell because of their backpacks. They are a Grey Knight fast attack option, and I think they're not really considered as much as maybe they should be, at least in my opinion. Then again, I am weird and have weird tactical tastes, so who knows. But the Grey Knight Interceptor squad is a fast attack choice, so is the Storm Raven. Those are the only two fast attack choices you have, so I can see why they're kind of overlooked a little bit, potentially. Also, they're kind of points heavy. In fact, they are pretty points heavy as for a squad, so that can also be a detracting thing for people. But me, again, I'm weird. I don't care. I think they can be used pretty nice, but I think they're, at least the way I would utilize them for maximum effect is what you're going to get. So I'm going to talk about how I would utilize them. Firstly, they are just a Grey Knight Strike Squad with personal teleporters, and the personal teleporter is what makes them different. But aside from that, war gear, well, aside from the personal teleporter, they got the same war gear. Now, in terms of special rules, psychic power, stat line, and options they can take, all the same. Personal teleporter is the only difference. Basically, to summarize, they count as jump infantry, so 12-inch movement, that's nice. Once per game, they can elect to make a teleport shunt instead of moving. So the turn starts, they don't move. Instead, they make a teleport shunt. If you do that, they must immediately move in any direction up to 30 inches. They cannot end their movement on top of impassable terrain or other units, but they ignore terrain, units, and so on for the purposes of moving. They cannot assault on the turn they shunt, but they can shoot as normal, and or run, and they count as having moved. So that's the two big things. Well, that's the two things that the personal teleporter gives you, which really changes the scope of the squad. 12 up to 12-inch movement for being counting as jump infantry, and the teleport shunt. Now, I feel that they're really well utilized as a close and aggressive shooting squad. So how I would equip them is a full 10-man squad. I wouldn't combat squad, but you could. Full 10-man squad, 2 incinerators, sidebolt ammunition. Optional, you could throw in a Nemesis Demon Hammer if you want to. Now, with this squad, what you have to do is you have to be careful. You don't want to shunt too early. You'll leave you unsupported, and you may take out one squad and may do a decent damage to it, but without having proper support, your squad can easily be overcome and overrun. Think of it more as a 1-2 punch. Move up, you harass the enemy a bit with just your jump infantry movement. The rest of your army moves up a bit, takes pot shots, whatever. Then you can establish a 1-2 punch mode. Basically, shunt in, do your movement for the rest of your army, and then shooting phase. They can do a decent knockout punch against a particular infantry squad. And let me be clear, I believe they'll be very suited to taking out infantry in the shooting phase, especially light infantry to medium, but mostly light. The way I define medium infantry is armor save of 4, really. Toughness 4. Heavy, I would say toughness 4 with an armor save better than 4. Anyway, and then the second punch for the 1-2 punch comes from the rest of your army supporting that tactical move. So, one thing, while they should be aggressive and harass the enemy a bit with the 12-inch movement, you should also get them to a good position to teleport shunt and not take as many casualties as you maybe would if you were being outright aggressive. So you have to be aggressive, but tactically, because when you teleport shunt, you're going to want as many guys alive in the squad as possible to make use of that shooting, to really bring weight of fire against them. At least for me, I would be careful with that. Now, target big squads, big squads, fire support squads, for example, also. So target retributors, target devastators, target Imperial Guard squads, any Imperial Guard squad really, with the exception of Ogren. I wouldn't target Ogren, or maybe I would. I don't know. It depends on the situation. Tactical Marines, Fire Warriors, battlesuits, Necron Warriors, Necron Destroyers, anything like that. Have a specific target for your shunt. Shunt as close as you possibly can. Without, with obeying all the rules, of course. You have to be within 1 inch, you can't be within 1 inch and all that jazz, but as close as you possibly can with your incinerators in the lead. Then unleash your firestorm into that squad. 2 incinerators, the rest of the squad, whatever's alive shooting. That's a lot of firepower to put into one squad at such close range, making good use of your incinerators. Depending on the squad sizing and the way it is, get into optimal incinerator range, which may not be as close as possible, maybe a couple inches back. It all depends. But light them up. You're either going to destroy them outright if you roll decently enough or average enough, or really maim them. Without over-exaggerating anything, with those 2 incinerator templates, which are strength 6 templates, plus side bolt ammunition storm bolters, shooting into a 30 Orc Boy squad, if you take a fresh Orc Boy squad and a fresh Interceptor squad with the shunt, I really do believe, even if they're in cover, I believe you could definitely bring them down to at least half. If they're out of cover, I would say you probably have a very good chance of outright obliterating that army, bring them down, or at least, mostly obliterated with, a knob and a couple of boys left. Pretty much making that squad almost combat ineffective, if not outright combat ineffective. That's just from one squad of shooting. Now, of course, what you're going to be targeting, the status of your squad and the enemy squad, it's all going to depend on what you're facing, the tactics, terrain, all that. But that's how I would utilize them. Good example, which I believe you get until the new Necron Codex comes out. A good example is against Necrons. You'll see them, and the common tactic in place for really hard-hitting armies is taking a big ball of warriors, or a decent amount of warriors for the whole phase-out thing. Keeping them behind the enemy. Well, not behind the enemy, but behind in the back of their lines. Really not utilizing them for anything more than anti-phase out. And then the rest of the army is aggressive in your face. So now you can kind of maneuver your shunt. Or not maneuver, so when you shunt, you can shunt right into those Necron warriors and unleash your firepower. That will really hurt a Necron player. Depending on how it goes against Necrons, that could outright almost phase them out. Or put them really in danger of it. And that's nice. If you outright destroy the squad, even better. Of course, we'll be back and everything aside, I'm not talking about that, just it'll really be an oh no moment. Because, against most armies, unless you have Deer Strike, those Necron warriors are safe. You could also utilize this against armies that have lots of heavy weapons in terms of squads, like heavy weapon teams for Imperial Guard or Devastators or Retributors. Shunt right up and just unleash firepower into them where they were previously safe. Again, infantry really is what they're after. Vehicles, not so much. That's why the Nemesis Demon Hammer is optional. If you feel you're going to have to tank hunt and tank bust after that shunt, the Demon Hammer lets you really do that. Other than that, there's not much else to say about the Interceptor squad aside from think about it, maybe even give it a shot. 10-man squad, 2 incinerators, Cybolt ammunition. Heck, that may be the way they're used already, I just haven't seen it really. But that's how I would do it. Be aggressive in maneuvering when you're just using your normal moves to be able to take pot shots, maybe jumping in a couple of turns in one direction, landing right near something, or close enough to really make use of your shooting like you would with the shunt, only you didn't shunt, you just shot him up, and then next turn shunt in. The reason I say wait a bit, it lets your army get close for that 1-2 staggered punch type of thing. Also, when you have your army breathing down their neck and then you shunt in, the shunt will be devastating. It won't be necessarily... They may be waiting for it a bit if they're aware of the situation, what they can do, but it'll still be something that they won't fully expect where it's going to be. And they won't be able to obviously counter that next turn by focusing fire because you're going to have the rest of your army in close support, or closer support, enough where... What do? Do they focus on one squad and try to bring it down? Or do they split their focus and stuff like that? If they survive, which hopefully if you play your cards right with the tactics and because they have a decent save and all that, and depending where you shunt and what you take out and what you shoot, so there's a lot of ifs I guess, but I would say you have a 50-50 chance of the squad surviving if you shunt, I don't want to say correctly, but shunt at the appropriate time. Once you do that, if you want to get into assault, depending on what you're facing, it may be beneficial to do so. But I would suggest being more of a menace in their lines at that point. Jump somewhere else with your normal movement, firepower. Maybe assault after that. Who knows? But at least think about. Don't just assault the closest thing. Think about what you can do. Maybe move in such a way to still harass the enemy, but semi-link up with your force. I don't know. It all depends. It all really depends at that point on the situation, on the terrain, what you're facing, the army list you're facing, the mission. I can't really give you an exact answer. But what I can give you an exact answer for is the shunt should be done to pretty much target a specific infantry squad, get as close as you can, unleash firepower into it. Another good way you can do it is cutting off the head of an Imperial Guard squad that makes heavy use of orders. Or, I should say, army that makes heavy use of orders. Take out the HQ itself, and or really brutally maim it. And that could put the hurt on a little bit. Or, if they mass one squad into a big mega Imperial Guard squad, shunt right up there and unleash firepower into it. That can really help. Not only just in terms of maybe making them run or destroying the squad or heavily wounding the squad, is that now your opponent's caught off balance. One thing that isn't maybe so obvious because you don't see it by rolling dice, you have to take not so much a step back, but you got to look at the whole picture instead of looking at a specific part of the battlefield, is tempo. If you find yourself constantly on the defensive going, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do, chances are your opponent is setting the tempo, or you're just not, and you're just not aware of it. The shunt, being that it's so radical of a thing to do, I mean, I can't think of any other army unit in any codex, or any other unit, I should say, in any codex that could do something similar outside of Deep Strike. So it's so different that it can really shake up tempo. Depending on what you target with it, if you do it at the opportune time, you could reset the tempo or put the tempo right into your favor. And a big thing about 40k, and I guess I'll do a video for it in the future if I haven't done so already. Even if I did, maybe I'll do another one, who knows, on tempo. But tempo is big. If you find yourself behind on tempo, even if you are a good opponent, even if you're a good opponent for your opponent, so a good player, even if you have a good army list, but if you're just not up on that tempo, you can really be at a disadvantage. Anyway, getting off topic. That's the Grey Knight Interceptor Strike Squad, or Interceptor Squad I should say. It's pretty much a Grey Knight Strike Squad for everything except the personal teleporter. It's points heavy, but I feel if you think that tactic works for you, or if you like the sound of that tactic, give it a shot. You may be surprised. I mean, I think it should work. And, why not? Why not give it a shot? It'll be something different than you've been playing normally, and it may be just what the doctor ordered, or it may be totally terrible for your army. I don't know, but it's what I would do with them. I do not know how well it would naturally synergize with your current Granite list, let's say. I don't think it'll work well in a Drago Wing. I don't think it'll work well in a Terminator heavy list, or in terms of just because at that point I think they need Storm Ravens or rely on Storm Ravens. I don't know, to be honest. Because I've seen so many different lists out there, and I've built a couple of different lists myself. One with these guys, and other lists that I think really this type of tactic, you're not building a list around this particular unit, but you're building a tactic around it, which means you have to adjust your list accordingly to support. Anyway, that's enough rambling. That's my thoughts on the Grey Knight Interceptor squads. Like I said, I think you should give them a shot, whoever plays Grey Knights, if you haven't done so already. Who knows? I could be completely in the dark, and then this could be the hot item that I just haven't seen locally or on the internet for the limited stuff I do see on the internet. So I could be just beating a dead horse on the fact that this squad is pretty cool, in my opinion. Points heavy, but I think could be worth it. That's it. So until next time, take it easy.